even though the Zelda games, for the most part, have each their own good main story, you often have the opportunity to ignore the fact that the world is falling apart and to just go ahead and do your own things on the side.
Sidequests have been common in pretty much every game in one form or another. The funny thing is that even though there is a princess who needs saving and the safety of the world is at stake, you actually get rewarded for these sidequests.
The sidequests in the Zelda games come in many forms. It's not rare for you to collect certain items, go for a trading sequence, play minigames, or even go into mini dungeons. There are so many things you can do, both normal and unusual things.
While what makes a sidequest worth it often is a reward, we also want to consider just how much fun it is to go through these sidequests. Maybe they have a certain meaning to us, maybe the quest in itself is a reward, or perhaps the idea of it is so weird that it just has to be included for its uniqueness.
There are many reasons why we like a side quest and put it on this list, and you will hear them as we go. However, we have a couple of rules when it comes to what we have decided that we can and cannot include. The kinds of side quests that basically involves playing minigames and going through mini dungeons will not be included. Examples of this can be the shooting gallery to get a bigger quiver, or the cave of ordeals to get a bottle of Great Fairies tears.
The reason why we exclude these things is because, well, we've already made a list of our favorite mini-dungeons, and a minigames list is sure to come sometime in the future. We hope that made things clear. We're the Owners of Triforce, I'm Owner 1.
And I'm Owner 2, and this is our top 10 side quests in Zelda. To start off this list, we go with a side quest that is apparent in almost every Zelda game and even started in the very beginning. Aside from defeating bosses to increase your health meter, or in the general case of the Zelda series, your number of hearts, there's always the possibility to collect heart pieces or containers around the world outside of dungeons.
What's sort of ironic here is that the side quest is the reward, and the reward is the side quest. All you do basically is collecting these heart pieces or containers. And what do you get in the end? Well, a health bar that progressively gets bigger the more of them you collect. There's not much else to it. There's no one who gives you the quest or someone you return to in order to get a reward.
In addition, the heart pieces are also often rewards for doing other side quests. So there's kind of a side questception going on there, but often there's also plenty of heart pieces and containers found in the overworld as well, making this side quest a scavenger hunt of sorts. It's a traditional thing, and we gotta say that we enjoy it.
Majora's Mask, a game filled to the brim with side quests that is often considered a favorite for that very reason. There are plenty to choose from, and while there are going to be more than just this one, don't worry about that, we have to go to Romani Ranch to find our number 9 on this list.
Chances are that if you explore the world of Termina every day, you would first be able to actually enter the ranch when you're on the 3rd day, because that's the only day the road isn't blocked by the giant boulder that some guy is trying to remove.
As you visit the ranch to see the 2 sisters who live there, you might notice that one of them is sitting on a crate, and things don't look right for her. She has a weird look in her face and keeps shaking her head.
When you finally realize that the huge boulder blocking the way can be blasted by a powder keg and you can visit the ranch in the 2 first days, you can see Romani playing around, smiling, and things just seem right.
But when you talk to her, she says that she's practicing because they are coming. What are they, you ask? Aliens! Freaking aliens! Well, they're called ghosts, but come on, they come from the sky, and they will abduct the cows and Romani if you're not able to keep them away. The objective is to fend off these ghostly aliens and keep them away from the barn with the use of your bow and arrow. It can be a tiny bit challenging, but it's also fun.
This is just so bizarre for a Zelda game, and had to make the list. Even though the reward isn't much else than a bottle of milk and the possibility to do other side quests, it's so unique in the series to do something like this. Now we get a better idea of why Romani doesn't look that good on the 3rd day. Skyward Sword was another game with great side quests, especially when it came to social interacting with other characters. Many of the inhabitants of Skyloft needed help for certain things, and for helping them out, you were often rewarded with gratitude crystals, you know, because they show their gratitude.
Not only are there rewards from other side quests though, as you can find single ones lying around at night. So these are gathered through helping others and scavenging, and there just happens to be another side quest connected to these. If you bring a certain number of these to the monster who lives by himself underneath Skyloft, you can collect a long row of rewards depending on how many you bring him.
He rewards you with rupees, bigger wallets, piece of heart, and even something called a cursed medal. Many of these rewards are very useful, so there's a lot to get out of this side quest. However, if you collect all of the gratitude crystals in the game, you help Batro out of his monster form and becoming a human.
He's always talking about how much he wants to become a human, because all the people of Skyloft, except Kukiel, would be afraid of him. What's funny is that his appearance doesn't change all that much. I mean, his wings, nails, horns, and face markings all disappear, but he still looks like his old self.
So, through doing good deeds for others and doing a little scavenging, you get plenty of rewards from Batro, in addition to helping him out become an equal to the rest of the people of Skyloft. It's actually a somewhat tough side quest to go all the way through, but it's still a very enjoyable one to us.
Twilight Princess had its fair share of fun side quests. It had a couple of sort of obvious ones with the golden bugs and posed souls, and while we often enjoy collectathons like that, we'll get to more of that later, neither one of them is on this list.
There's this odd kid called Marlow, who's from the same village as Link. After a series of events, he and other Odonian children end up in Kakariko village, and after things have gotten safer around there, they want to help out with the society in the village.
So Marlow opens up a shop, which is odd. I mean, this little weirdo here is standing behind the counter and selling you things, being all businessy and stuff, but it's pretty good for his young age.
You have one of the Goron elders, Gor Ebizo, standing inside the shop and accepting donations to fix a bridge so that his Goron brethren can sell their hot spring water in Castle Town. That's pretty much a side quest in itself that will eventually reward you with a piece of heart if you continue on helping out the Gorons. But Marlow has other interests.
If you donate enough money another time, he's ready to freaking purchase the snobby shop called Chudley's Fine Goods and Fancy Trinkets Emporium. This side quest isn't huge, but we just had to include it because we find it so silly and funny that this little guy is able to change this shop from this to this!
Everything is weird. We've talked about this before, but we just can't get over how hilarious it is that this classy place has turned into one of the most insane things we've ever seen in a Zelda game. That alone is enough for this side quest to make it on the list, but it is also worth mentioning that the prices for all items in this shop are actually affordable this time around, so there is a purpose around this.
Right, collectathons. We've already touched upon it with the heart pieces and gratitude crystals, but for number 6, we're going to Ocarina of Time and that game's main side quest when it comes to collecting.
We're of course talking about the gold Skulltulas. It's pretty obvious already what you're doing here, but we'll still talk about why we find this side quest enjoyable. We really do like collecting things, for starters, but it's all the more interesting when you know the reason why you're collecting these.
There's a very creepy house in Kakariko village that's inhabited by a family that has been cursed, and where every family member has turned halfway into a Skulltula. You free each member from the curse based on the number of gold Skulltulas you collect.
As every member is free, you can find them standing there, full of joy, as they reward you with bigger wallets, the stone or shard of agony, a piece of heart, and bomb juice? That's lame.
You don't free the last member before you collect all 100, which is 50 more than the previous one, and all you get is 200 rupees each time you visit. Which sounds fine, but by the time you have found all of these, you might not really need all the rupees.
We can't really say that it's worth collecting all the Skulltulas, but we do find it exciting to walk through a dungeon or someplace outside at night and hearing a gold Skulltula crawling nearby, knowing that there's something for us to collect.
Many people have complained or just think that it's a bit bad that Majora's Mask had no more than 4 dungeons. It doesn't sound like much, but considering that this game came 2 years after Ocarina of Time, and that the game is loaded with content outside of the dungeons, it's not really that bad.
Especially when you realize that they did add a little side quest to the dungeons with the stray fairies. This is an addition to the dungeons we really enjoyed, because not only did you have to make it through like you normally do, but you have an extra goal that you don't need to do, but can if you really feel like it.
In every dungeon there are 15 stray fairies that you can collect. You never know where they're hidden, unless you see them yourself, or most usefully, by the use of the Great Fairy Mask. When you wear the mask, it will tell you if there are stray fairies in the room you find yourself in. They can be underwater, or in the air, usually inside a bubble, and after popping the bubble the fairy is in, it will automatically be drawn to you if you wear the mask. And they can also be found inside chests.
This adds another layer to the dungeon, which we appreciate and enjoy, but there's also a good reason why you should collect these. Every time you have collected 15 of them and bring them to the nearby Great Fairy Fountain, all of them will merge into a Great Fairy, and the rewards are great. One of them gives you the Great Spin Attack, the second a double magic meter, the third enhanced defense, and the fourth the Great Fairy Sword.
We find these a lot of fun and not to be too hard or too tedious at all. The Great Fairy Mask gives us enough help to make it really fun, and the rewards for them are great.
There are many ways of having your items upgraded. You can upgrade your quiver in the shooting gallery, you can swim into a waterfall and show a fairy your honesty, you can collect materials and have someone else upgrade your items with the use of them. Our favorite side quest that lets you upgrade your items though, is the Lost Maiamais in A Link Between Worlds.
This one is a bit odd, but also very enjoyable to us. Mother Maiamai has lost all of her 100 little Maiamais, and you can gather them all. It might sound a bit tedious to collect 100 of them, but we find it a lot better than the gold Skulltulas in Ocarina of Time in a few ways. Even though you can see when you found all the Skulltulas in a dungeon through this mark on your map, there's no telling where to look in the overworld or just knowing how many more you have to find in a dungeon.
Conveniently, the overworld map has the world divided into several areas with a count of how many there are to be found in those areas. Even though it helps you a lot and makes it less challenging, it also makes it feel much less tedious, and it's not like they're all super obvious to find either. Also, they are not found in dungeons, only in the overworld.
You can hear a little squeaking sound whenever you're close by, so there's a way for you to know if you're near, but they can be on a mountain wall, in a tree, underneath a rock, and many other places.
Just finding these are fun, but what makes it better is that for every 10th one you collect, you can go to Mother Maiamai and have an item of your choosing upgraded. Your bow can now shoot 3 arrows at once, bombs have a bigger blast radius, the hammer creates a bigger shockwave, and so on. It's both fun to do the quest and it's useful in the way that you can make your items stronger, and you even have the freedom to choose which ones you want better for each time you get rewarded.
I think we have seen enough fetch quests for this list, and now we're going for a side quest in Skyward Sword that I personally really enjoyed. So, those who have played the game know that Groose, Colin and Stritch start off as a gang of bullies. We've gone into details about what happened to Groose throughout the game, but Stritch and Colin have gone through pretty unnoticed on this channel.
We find out in the game that Stritch is a huge bug fanatic, which is sort of strange in itself, but there's a very fun and interesting side quest that involves Colin that appears later in the game. At first he's just acting cool and has taken over Groose's room now that he's gone.
One night though, Link can hear a ghostly voice coming from the bathroom calling out for paper during the night. When it's daytime again, you find Colin standing next to the entrance door inside the Knight's Academy, holding a letter in his hand. He actually shares his secret with Link about him being in love with a girl at the academy named Karain.
He's too nervous about giving it to her himself, so he asks Link to do it, even if he's not very happy that it's Link of all people. But, like he said, these are dire times.
What's funny here is how the text outlines the word paper several times, and how Link connects that word to what he heard coming from the bathroom the night before, as he glances over. This is where this side quest can go 2 different ways.
With Colin being a jerk to Link earlier in the game, and it's just about the only one in the gang who sort of dislikes Link through the whole game, it would be a really funny thing to help out a person in the bathroom with this love letter of his. Turns out that this voice came from a hand in the toilet. Haven't we seen that before? Anyway, the ghost accepts the paper, but instead of using it for something a person usually would in the bathroom, then again, she's a ghost. How would that even work? She reads the letter and ends up believing that the letter was meant for her. He was very upset when he found out what Link did with the letter, and it turns out that the ghost falls in love with Colin, which is noticeable when he visits Bruce's room at night, cause the hand will stroke him while he's sleeping and he only seems to get nightmares from it. No surprise there though. She shows her gratitude and the side quest is pretty much done.
The other way of doing it is to actually deliver the letter to Karain. You find her thinking about another guy, and she gets a bit conflicted when she finds out that Colin's interested in her, while she's interested in Pippet. Well, almost conflicted. Since you know that she's interested in Pippet, you can go talk to him and see how he reacts on the letter that she got from Colin. It's evident early on in the conversation that he's interested in her too, and he wants Link to see how the whole thing goes. It ends with a cutscene that could have been taken from a soap opera. It's sweet, sad, well, it is Colin, so it's not that sad, and funny as well. Just as Colin asks if she'd really go out with him, Pippet breaks in and confesses his love for Karain. They end up together, romantic music is playing, and they show their gratitude.
There are many reasons why we love this side quest. For one thing, you can pay Colin back for being a jerk earlier and give it to the ghost who'll haunt him at night. Or you can be nice to him and deliver the letter to the right person. Either way though, he'll just end up crying, so we're fine with either decision we make.
Just having two different options in general was a really good idea, and we really love the social interactions in this side quest. You don't have to fight enemies or go around huge places. You just have to talk to the characters, and it's fun to see how their personalities show through their reactions and dialogue. There's a lot that's enjoyable in this side quest, and it's just as fun to do every time we play the game, no matter what choice we make. Link's Awakening started with a sort of traditional side quest in the form of a trade sequence. However, it actually started as something mandatory in that game, before the rest of the sequence played out more as a side quest.
There have been several trading sequences since, but neither one is as much fun to do or has a cooler reward than the one in Ocarina of Time. How does a trade sequence go? We'll take you through it.
You start off with a pocket egg you get from the Cuckoo Lady in Kakariko Village.
Wait for it to hatch and you have a pocket Cuckoo.
Use it in front of Talon to wake him up, and the Cuckoo Lady rewards you with a Kojiro for waking him up.
Take the Kojiro to Lost Woods and present it to Grog to get an odd mushroom.
Bring the odd mushroom to the old hag at the potion shop in Kakariko Village within 3 minutes without warping.
She will give you an odd potion that you need to bring back to Grog.
Grog has suddenly disappeared and Fado stands there instead. Give the odd potion to her, and you get the Poacher's Saw.
Take that to the carpenters in the Gerudo region in exchange for the broken Goron sword.
Bring that broken blade to the big Goron on top of Death Mountain and receive a prescription for eye drops.
Deliver the prescription to King Sora and receive the eyeball frog.
Hand that over to the lake scientist in the lakeside laboratory in return for some eye drops.
Bring the eye drops to Big Goron within 4 minutes without warping.
That will make Big Goron happy, and he'll take the broken Goron sword to fix it.
Wait 3 days and you finally have the Big Goron sword.
This side quest is fun because you get to interact with a lot of different people to reach the end reward. And you need to do certain tasks all over Hyrule, and sometimes in a hurry because you even have a time limit. It sucks if you can't make it, but it's not really that hard.
And of course the reward is worth it, with you getting this awesome two-handed sword that does way more damage than the Master Sword, and it's so much fun to use this.
Many of you hoped it would appear here, and some even predicted to see this at number 1. Seems like we won't disappoint you, because our number 1 side quest is of course the reunion of Anju and Kafei from Majora's Mask.
Going through each step of this side quest would just be too much, since it's a really long one and it would take a lot of time getting through it, so we won't do that. However, we will explain basics of it.
2 people in Clocktown called Anju and Kafei are about to get married. Anju is working at the Stockpot Inn, while Kafei is more of a hidden character within the town. He tries to stay hidden from Anju because he's too embarrassed to have his fiancée see him in the form he's in because of Skull Kid. Even though he's an adult, He looks like he's just about the same age as Link.
To reunite them, you go through a long series of trading items, timed events, social interactions with other characters, and all of this lasts over all 3 days within the game. You deliver letters, visit shops, sort of spy on people, solve puzzles, talk to various characters, let a thief steal bombs from an old lady, and you have to do it multiple times to get different rewards as the side quest eventually branches out.
Sure, that can be a drag, and if you fail to do the right thing at the right time, you might have to start over from day 1, and there's a lot of waiting if you have nothing to do in the meantime and put all your focus into this side quest. But it's still a very ambitious side quest that succeeded, and involves so many different tasks to go through, making this a pretty varied side quest.
Seriously, look at all of these places, characters and items that are involved, and what rewards you can get out of it. The end goal by itself isn't the only reward you'll get, as this side quest connects to a lot of other characters that are involved, but in a different way to the side quest that's mostly about reuniting Anju and Kafei.
Besides being the most complicated side quest in the series, it's also commonly considered the most emotional, and we're not gonna disagree. The ending of this side quest even made my top 10 memorable moments list, because the reuniting of Anju and Kafei during the last hours, right before the moon crashes, is so emotional in the way that they were just happy they would unite their masks and face their fate as long as it was together.
So, for being emotional, having interactions with multiple characters, solving puzzles, witnessing conversations, retrieving and delivering items, and for being the most ambitious and complicated side quest in the series, the reunion of Anju and Kafei ends up at number 1 on our list. That's it for our 10 favorite side quests in the series. If you happen to like it, show it by clicking on that like button. And of course let us know your thoughts about our video and your favorite side quests in the comments.
And you should definitely subscribe if you like dungeon music, because our next video is gonna be the top 10 dungeon themes.
Whoa, you know, that's a great topic, but that's just not gonna cut it.
What do you mean?
We need to change this somehow. There are just way too many great dungeon themes out there. How about we make that a top 20, huh?
Okay, let's see. 20. There.
Great.
Okay, so our next list will be the top 20 dungeon themes. Thanks for watching, and we really hope to see you then, because this will be a big one.